channel, and welcome back to Spooky Story Sunday. I missed Saturday yesterday because of the holidays and everything, and I didn't have enough time to finish researching. And I really want to research everything for you guys before I post it. So I'm back. I'm a day late, but that's okay. So today we're doing a new case. Last week we did the Sauter family, and this week we're doing, as you probably read in the title, the Pollock twins. And this one is actually very interesting and very, how do I put it, very weird, I guess. You're gonna have to watch out and keep watching the video so you understand. And I just want to give some disclaimers before I start. This isn't one of my spookier videos, but if you do get weirded out really easily, maybe you don't want to watch this one. And no hate to anyone I talk about in this video. This is all just research I've done separately and compiled into one video. So yeah, let's just get started. And another quick disclaimer, I know this intro is very long, but this story is a bit confusing because there are a lot of people in this story, so you're kind of going to have to pay attention because you can easily get confused and then nothing will make sense. So now we're just going to move on to the birthdays and the names of everyone. First, we're starting off with 11-year-old Joanna Pollock, who was born in 1946, who is the eldest out of the two. And then we have Jacqueline Pollock, who is born in 1951, and she is around 5 or 6 when this happens. Next, we have two sons who are older than the two girls, but they're not that important to the story, so there's really nothing to do with them. And next, we have Florence Pollock, who I couldn't really find her birthday because some reason, but she's the mother. And we have John Pollock, who was born in 1920. Next, we have Jillian and Jennifer Pollock, who are born October 4th, 1958. Now, Jillian and Jennifer are the twins, and Joanna and Jacqueline are just the separate sisters. So don't get the sisters confused with the twins, because that's the most confusing part about this case, trust me. So some key facts and background information before we get started. I know the lighting is really bad, I'm so sorry. But they lived in a town called Hexham, and Florence and John Pollock were very famous or rich. They had a grocery delivery company. Talk about curbside pickup. Where are they in 2020? We need them. But no, they were, delivering groceries, and they had this whole business, and they were very wealthy. Not, Steve Jobs wealthy, but, a fair amount of wealthy. So that led the children to be raised by their grandmother, not particularly due to abandonment. They were still, the parents were still in the children's lives. They were just really busy with the company, so their grandmother raised them for most of the time, and they loved it. They loved their grandma. They loved their living standards. They weren't abused, none of that. They lived a really happy life. Next, Joanna. Now this is important. Joanna, who is the eldest out of Joanna and Jacqueline, would always say, "I will never be a lady." This was the first sign that, really gets me, because it turns out to be true, and I'll tell you in a couple minutes why she keeps saying she's never gonna grow up to be a lady. Joanna also liked to mother Jacqueline. She was like a second mother to Jacqueline. She loved helping her out, being there for her sister. She loved her sister so much. She'd teach her stuff about being a girl, like brushing your hair and stuff like that, And Jacqueline, at age 3, now this is important, she fell over a bucket and bashed her forehead on the bucket handle, and she had a massive scar on her forehead. So that's pretty important. A lot of these key facts by themselves don't really stand, but you're gonna get everything once I move on with the case. So now this is the part where it starts to move forward and you start to click together all the pieces of information. And warning, these next 5 minutes do contain death and drug use, so if you're not really a fan about that or you get triggered easily, you can just skip forward like 5 minutes. But this is very important to the story, so you might want to stick around if you can. So in May, and I keep looking down because again I'm looking at my notes, I'm not going to say that anymore because I'm sure you guys know, but in May 7th, 1957, the girls and a neighborhood friend named Anthony, who was 9, were walking to church, and they did this very often. They were getting used to it. They knew the route. It wasn't too far. They lived in a pretty safe town in Hexham. Pretty much everyone knew everyone. It was pretty small, pretty safe, or so they thought. So the parents let their children just go out with no curfew, you know. So they were just allowed to go to church, and they were all fine and dandy. And out of nowhere, a lady just comes and hits them with a car. And she was speeding really fast. And unfortunately, Joanna and Jacqueline died on the spot, and Anthony died in the hospital. And the reason for this was said to be that the lady was overdosed on aspirin and other drugs. Aspirin. She was overdosed on aspirin. Okay. Guys, editor me here. For those of you who don't know what aspirin is, it's basically like Tylenol or Aleve. It's mostly used for headaches. Just think of it as getting high off Fun Dip or snorting Smarties, because don't even lie, I know you know what I'm talking about, so don't even try and hide it. And apparently I can't speak English, so don't ask me to be your English teacher, because I suck at that. So yeah, enjoy the rest of the video and have fun. But the reason for this drug use was because she recently lost her kids to a custody battle with her husband, and she was really, really, really mad about that. So she wanted to end her life, so she overdosed on drugs and went for a drive to, you know, end it all. And she had this mentality, this really, really sick mentality, that if she couldn't have her kids, no one was allowed to have their kids, which is just very twisted, you know? She was obviously very sick. And the scariest part about all of this was she didn't even stop. She hit the kids and just kept going. She didn't even break to see if anyone was okay. It was like she wanted to hit them because, like I said, she had that mentality that she didn't want anyone to have kids. She was jealous. So instead of getting jail time, she was put into a mental... What just came out of my mouth? Mental. She was put into a mental hospital for a very, very, very long time. And we don't really know what happens to her. We don't know if she gotten better. We don't know if she feels guilty now. We don't know where she is. I couldn't find her name. But, you know, feel free to do your research after this video if you want. So she just kept driving. And people believe that it was an accident, while some believe it was on purpose. And like I said, the lady was sentenced to a very long time in the mental hospital. So, hi, welcome back if you skipped past a couple of minutes. So glad you could join us again. But now we're talking about grief. And as expected, all the parents of the kids were just traumatized, devastated. They were sobbing so hard, and I found in some sources that this was even put on the paper, which was just very, very sad. But I don't want to say John wasn't as devastated, because obviously he was. I mean, he just lost 2 of his children, but you know, he wasn't as... He had hope, basically, is what I'm trying to say, and he believed, and this is kind of like the building blocks towards this story of reincarnation, because at the age of 9, John stumbled across a book of reincarnation, and he absolutely loved it, fell in love with the idea of people being brought back to life. And if you don't know what reincarnation is, it's basically when someone or something comes back to life and takes the form of someone or something else. So if someone dies, they can be reincarnated into someone else. And this is very believed in India too. So this was very big for John, and he converted to Catholicism if that's the word, I'm so sorry. He converted to Catholicism around that age, and Florence converted when she married John. And John, is stated in some sources, he believed that he was believing too much in reincarnation, so much so God punished him for it. Let me try to put this in an easier sentence for you. He believed that God was the one who took away his children from him, almost as if John wasn't supposed to be believing in this, as a sort of punishment from God, that he wasn't supposed to be looking this up, he wasn't supposed to believe in it, he wasn't supposed to convert or anything. But John kept pushing the limits, and he obviously told his wife Florence, but she didn't believe him. He had dreams of his daughters, he stated, being reborn into twin girls and coming back to Earth, but taking the form of someone else as twins. And obviously he told his wife Florence, and she was just so mad at John. I mean, you don't go up to someone and say, oh, stop grieving, okay? They're gonna come back to life as a cow. No, you don't say that. You never say that. So obviously, understandably, Florence was really mad because she just lost her 2 daughters. And John came up to her and said, oh, don't worry. We're gonna have twin girls and they're gonna be reincarnated. No, and they obviously got into a fight about this, so much so that they almost got a divorce. John risked his relationship with his wife over something that he read in a book, which I don't know if you side with John or Florence. I'm 50-50 because John believed and Florence didn't. But anyway, he really did believe in this. He had dreams, he had visions of being in the woods and seeing his daughters, and this was all very blurry for Florence. She just lost 2 of her girls, and now he's saying they're gonna have 2 more children just like them. So this was all weird, obviously, and John kind of kept to himself after that. Well, I just moved because the lighting was really bugging me, and I know it's gonna be bugging you guys, so sorry about that. But now we're gonna move on to pregnancy and birth. So Florence soon became pregnant a year later, just a year after the accident, which really shocked everyone. But this was like stage 1 for John. This was kind of like the stage 1 of his I told you so plan. Which, let me tell you, when you say I told you so to someone, it feels really good. Like, it feels like you achieved something. So John kind of like had this smug look on his face. He was like, okay, I told you, but obviously he didn't say that. And they went for the I can't talk. So they went for the ultrasound, and it was a girl, but only one. So John was full of despair, and so they went home, because if you remember, John had dreams or visions of 2 twin girls, not 1, but 2. So he was obviously understandably upset because he believed of this over a long period of time. So they went home, and for 9 months, they thought that it was only 1 girl, only 1 heartbeat. Florence was only eating for 1 human, or 2. But then it came time to deliver, and 2 girls, twins, came out. And John soon found out that he was right. Next is significant behaviors. As I said, that 2 twin girls were birthed that day, and that day was October 4th. And John was ecstatic, Florence was confused, but soon learned to love them. And it wasn't like Florence hated them because of John. No, she loved them. They were her children. But she was just a bit flustered, understandably so, because her husband said that they were gonna have twins and she didn't believe him, but now there were 2 twins standing right in front of her. And significant behaviors, this is where it starts to twist more into the case, and it was crazy. It was like Jillian was like Joanna, and Joanna was the eldest daughter, And it was like Jennifer was Jacqueline, who Jacqueline was the youngest daughter. So Jillian and Jennifer were twins, and Joanna and Jacqueline were separate sisters. They were the ones that died in the crash. But Jillian and Jennifer were the ones that were birthed as twins. Which, can we just talk about how it's really annoying? We have John, we have Joanna, we have Jacqueline, we have Jennifer, and Jillian, you'd think they'd put her name with a J, but no, it just has to be a G to ruin everything, which really bugs me. But you know what? We're not gonna talk about that, okay? I'm not bothered. I'm fine. But you know what? Let's get back onto the case. Each twin took a form as their previous sister, and they were shocked, to say the least, obviously. It was said that the parents would hear them as they were walking by their room. If they were doing like laundry or something and they walked by their room, it would be that they heard them talking about the accident in past tense, like they experienced it before. So, as a summary, it would kind of be like,
"Oh my god, Jillian, remember that day we got hit by a car? Yes, that lady was so drugged. Oh my god."
Obviously, that's not what they said, just a little reenactment of how I think it would go. Just trying to spice it up a little bit. I don't want everything to be so sad. I don't want you guys to take this so seriously. But the parents would hear them talking about this in past tense. And when they were old enough to talk, they asked for their toys, which doesn't really seem that big of a deal. They weren't asking for their own toys though. They were asking for Joanna and Jacqueline's toys.
"Mother, we would like to get the toys from the attic that you absolutely told us nothing about."
How did they know they were there? The parents didn't even mention Joanna or Jacqueline. They didn't mention the accident. They didn't mention anything about them previous, but they never mentioned anything. They asked for their toys, which were in the attic, and they were like, how do they know about the toys? So they were like, you know what, whatever. They brought down the toys, and they were able to pick out their own toys with no fighting. They're like, okay, so this one is yours, I remember. This one was mine. And they were able to remember the dolls' names, and they remembered that those were the toys they got for Christmas. Like, they mentioned stuff like Santa and Christmas and Christmas presents. They didn't know that, but somehow they did. It was like they knew that they got them for Christmas. They knew which one was theirs. They knew their names, which was very shady and very creepy. I mean, I don't know how else to describe it. Here's a thought. Maybe search up synonyms for scary. You're so stupid. Another weird thing that happened was they developed a legit phobia of cars. And they knew road safety before they were even taught it. Their mother noticed they were very cautious when crossing the street. They were so slow and so careful, and they legit feared cars. They were scared of vehicles. And that just shows, like, that to me is kind of like proof. I mean, that's a really big coincidence. A lot of these are very big coincidences. Next, we're moving on to physical signs, and if you think that significant behavior was different and creepy, wait until you hear about this. Joanna was slender-shaped like Jillian, and on the other hand, Jennifer was more stocky built, just like Jacqueline. So on one hand, Joanna and Jillian were more skinnier and slender, while Jacqueline and Jennifer were a bit more stocky built, which I guess could be a coincidence, but to me, that's just no. And they also had the exact same birthmarks and scars. I know some siblings have scars and birthmarks the same spot, but this was to a whole other level. They weren't even a centimeter apart. When I tell you they were in the exact same spot, I mean it. Like, Jacqueline, remember when I told you that Jacqueline had that bucket accident? Jennifer had it in the exact same spot. She literally had it on her forehead. She was born with a scar on her forehead. And I'm trying to look here. Jacqueline had a mark on her waist, and so did Jennifer. They had it too. They were completely alike. It was so weird. And people back then obviously didn't have as much technology as we do today, because this was like 30 or more years ago. But they believed that DNA was very particular to this case. They believed that the twins shared the exact same DNA as the sisters previous, which doesn't make sense, so let me explain it as best as I can. They believe that since they were birthed from the same parents, both siblings would be the same exact, which doesn't make sense because they were born at different times. They didn't have the same DNA, obviously, because ones were twins and ones were separate sisters. But you can go look at other videos like this. I'm sure they explain it better. I'm not really sciencey. But they believed that the DNA was the same exact. And since they didn't have anything to prove it, because they didn't have any technology like this, like today, back then, they couldn't really prove it. They couldn't really stand up for what they believed in with that DNA. I don't know what I'm saying. This is the problem with me. I film something and don't know what I'm saying. Even though I literally have it researched, I don't know what I'm saying. But you know what? So be it. You can just search up a better video than this. So now we're talking about later development. And like most reincarnation cases, sadly, as you get older, you do forget your past memories. And it has come to say that they had several meetings throughout their life with scientists, and they had several meetings with them throughout their life. They were written books about the movies and everything. So they had these meetings, but as they came with the meeting in their 20s, everything seemed normal. They didn't remember anything about their siblings. They didn't remember anything about the past, anything about their phobia of cars, nothing. Literally anything I just told you right now, they did not know anything about it. And it was said to be that Jillian had inner visions about her and her brothers playing in a sandbox in a town called Wickham, or it might just be Hexham and someone made a typo, but correct me if I'm wrong, because I think that is a separate town. But she's never been to this town. She somehow memorized the garden shape, the house colors, the plants, where everything was, where the school was, where the park was. It was weird. It was very weird, very startling. But like I said, in their mid-20s, early 20s, they remembered nothing. And this is very common in reincarnation cases. They didn't know this back then because, like I said, I'm just repeating everything. They didn't have the technology we do have today, so they couldn't really prove it. But now we know that in most cases, they just forget everything, basically. It's like their memories slowly fade. Their own memories stay from their childhood, but they forget their previous life memories, if that makes sense. And that's basically all I have. But now we're just going to move on to some weird events and weird random facts that I like to do at the end of my videos. The lighting! Oh my god. Okay, so now I moved for the third time because I literally have terrible lighting right now. I don't know why I chose to do it now, but I really want to get this video out. So now we're just gonna do random facts and events that happened that kind of correspond with this case that I couldn't really fit into a specific category. And I like to do these a lot at the end of my video. So now let's just move on. And like I said before, I got totally blasted by the lighting. Why do I do this to myself? Okay, are you done yet? Thank you. Jeez. When I read this, I was pretty freaked out by this, But once Jillian pointed to her sister's scar and said that is the mark Jennifer got when she fell on a bucket, obviously referring to Jacqueline's scar. This was before the parents told them about their sisters, so she thought that she just fell. But she had no idea that Jacqueline had the same scar, which is really freaky, and I don't know how the parents just left the house. I wouldn't ditch my kids, but you know, I probably would need a vacation. And people say that this is proof of reincarnation, but people argue it was just that their brothers had to do something with this. Their parents claim they never mentioned their sisters until they were older. But it was noted that the twins may have heard from their older brothers about their sisters and all of this. So some people believe this was totally fake, but a lot of people believe that this was true. So if you can, comment down below whether you think it's real or fake. I don't know which I believe. I'm kind of split 50-50 just because of how much evidence there is that I think I believe it more than don't believe it. But you know, there's just not a lot of evidence to back up that it's fake. I mean, look at all of this evidence that I managed to fit into this video. It's really hard to deny it, but you know, you do you. You can believe whatever you want. I look sweaty. I hate sunlight so much. I'm white. Okay, I'm getting ahead of myself, so I think I'm going to end the video here. Before the sun completely drowns out the video. And like I say in all of my videos, if you can, comment down below, leave things you think about this case, leave things you disagree with or agree with. I'm gonna try to link down some sources that I was reading from, and you can go search up other videos like this, because I'm terrible at explaining things. So yeah, that's basically it on the Pollock twins, and I'm gonna try my best to get a video out next Saturday. Also go follow my new Instagram, Mystery History 123. Pretty cliche name, but there I just post updates on when my videos are coming out. I post reels, which are kind of like TikToks, but Instagram version, about, you know, like short creepypastas and just short cases that I don't really want to do a video on particularly. So you can go follow that channel, that, you know, Instagram page. So you'll see a lot more of me, and you'll get a lot more updates that some people might not be able to get. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have on this case. I hope you have an amazing holiday. I hope you had an amazing Christmas. The next video will be posted in 2021. So like I said, that's it. I hope you enjoyed this case. I'll try my best to post a video next Saturday. Like I said, I just was really busy with the holidays and I didn't have enough time to research everything. So, sorry. So I hope you had an amazing holiday. I hope you have an amazing New Year's. Speaking of New Year's, my next video is going to be posted in 2021. So I hope you all are safe. I'm so excited to see you guys in the new year. And yeah, if you can, comment down below any other cases you want me to do. But that's pretty much it. So yeah, that's it. Make sure to stay safe, have fun, and keep on thinking. Bye!